Good morning. Today I am going to discuss about the signal representation by set of functions. A set of functions. Okay. So the signal representation basically it is the starting point for the Fourier series, Fourier transform, and any kind of transformation. So in this, what we do is signal representation means basically we want to approximate the signal, approximate the given signal in terms of some other signals, some other elementary signals. Okay, so that is what you have. You have a separate complete set of functions. There is another set called complete set, that which I will be discussing today. Given a set of n number of functions, so there you are considering n number of functions g1, g2, gn, which are mutually orthogonal over the interval between t1 and t2. So it is arbitrarily you can select t1 and t2. In fact, in general, what we discuss is t1 equal to minus infinite, t2 equal to plus infinite. That means the complete duration of the signal. In fact, we can have any kind of, it need not be minus infinity plus infinity. Any segment of the signal you can take and you can do the representation only during that time interval, that is between t1 and t2. Okay, it is a generalized thing. So it is possible to approximate an arbitrary function over a period of time duration, that is t1 and t2. It is possible to approximate an arbitrary function. That means given function. Arbitrary function means which you are given. You are asked to represent f of t by a linear combination of g1, g2, etc., gn. Okay. So basically given function or signal f of t is represented as a linear combination of the set of functions, that is g1, g2, gn. So these are which are mutually orthogonal. That is more important. Here you cannot arbitrarily select g1, g2, gn. You have to select these based on certain properties. That property is nothing but in that set g1, g2, g1, g2, etc., gn. In this set, any pair if you take, they must be orthogonal. So that is the condition required for that. Okay. So let us take f of t. So under these conditions, f of t is approximately equal to the linear combination of these mutually orthogonal functions. Okay. So now, what is the true value of this one? F of t is the true value, and whatever I have, in fact, this I can equate it to, here I have taken approximately equal here. Okay, approximately equal. But if I write equality sign, then what I have to write here? F of t. F cap I can write. That means approximation of f of t. Equality sign I am introducing here and I am putting a cap here. So that means f cap is the approximated version of the given function f. Now this is the approximated function, approximate representation, and this is the true function. So true function minus the approximated function. So this gives the error actually. This is nothing but our error signal. This error can be positive or can be negative. So if we want to find the size of the error signal, size means energy, for example. So if I want to take, then square it, and this is square it, and you have to integrate this. That means area under this error curve you have to find. What is the duration? Between the time interval is t between t1 and t2, and divided by t2 minus t1. That is width of the, so energy divided by time basically. Okay, if I consider this as energy, this is divided by time, energy divided by time is power. So this is what this is called error power. I can say error. Okay, this is error power. So epsilon. Now, what should be our aim? For best approximation, this epsilon error power should be the minimum. That is as much as least as possible. Okay. So let us say we have selected the best approximation. Okay, we have selected best approximation. How you define the best approximation to get the minimum error? Okay, what are the parameters on which the error is dependent? This is the given function. Error is dependent basically on these coefficients because G1, G2, etc. functions, they are defined already. Okay, they are predetermined functions. So the only unknown is the coefficients, scaling factors, that is C1, C2, C3 like that. Okay, so by modifying this C1, C2, C3, you have to minimize the error. So here we must choose, that is what is coefficients, that is what is told here. We must choose the coefficients C1 and C2, C1, C2, Cn to minimize the error. So under this condition, this in the previous lectures also in the initial stage, this I have already discussed, and I am not discussing about this because that was discussed along with vectors, signals and vectors. Okay, analogy between signals and vectors I have already discussed in my previous lectures. Now, as per that, jth coefficient is given by what is this one? Area under the product term. What we are doing here? We are taking the given function and multiplying with jth orthogonal function, jth of the mutual orthogonal function set. Okay, jth function, and we are finding the inner product. Basically, this is equal to inner product. Then you are integrating between T1 and T2. Okay, so this is nothing but, in terms of vectors, it is nothing but inner product, dot product. Okay, now denominator. So denominator, what I am doing? I am squaring. I am finding the energy of this one, and this energy is a scalar quantity because you are integrating is a scalar quantity. It is not a vector. Anyway, in this one, vectors are not there anyway. These are all functions only. So it is a something called scalar quantity, and this quantity I can represent by Kj, energy in the jth function, approximating function. Okay, approximated function is f of t. F of t is the approximated function. Approximating functions are GJs. So jth approximating function. That means jth. In fact, these are called as the basis functions. For any series expansions, any approximation, functional approximation, these GJs, G1, G2, Gj, these are called the basis functions basically. Okay, they are called basis functions. In terms of basis functions, we are representing the given function f of t. Okay, so now onwards I call this Gj as the jth basis function I will call. Okay, and that can be different functions will act as the basis functions. Later we are going to discuss that. In general now, Gj means jth basis function. Okay, so what are we doing here? Given function is multiplied by jth basis function. Find the area under the curve. Then energy in the basis function. And normalize this product. Normalize this inner product with, by the energy of the basis function. Okay, that is nothing but Kj. So I have this equation 1 now. So this is the jth coefficient. Like that, C1, C2, C3 like that. Here we have to multiply with G1, G2, G3 like that. Okay, by replacing the J. What is the J range here? 1, 2, etc. N, small n. Okay, that is what is the range of this J. Now, when optimum values of the coefficients, these are called coefficients of the expansion, basically. Okay, so coefficients of the expansion or C1, C2, Cn are chosen according to equation 1. What is that equation 1? I'll just go back and see here. So this is the condition. For each coefficient, this is the condition. Now, you have selected, let us say, as per equation 1, you have selected all coefficients. Now, what is that you have? You have substituted here. True value, true function value, approximated function value. Then, this is the error power. And this, let us see what kind of conditions we will get. So, let us expand this one. Expand this. This is a minus b whole square. This is a minus b whole square. A square plus b square minus 2ab. Okay. So, it is like all under integration, because still the integration term is here. This is under the integration, a minus b whole square. Now, for each term, I have to take integration. Okay. So, integration of this square of the given signal, and this is CR square, because CR square I have taken outside this because it's a constant. Okay, it doesn't matter. And what I have done here in this term, what I have done, integration has come inside the summation. Okay, that is the difference here. I have interchanged. Because these are all linear combinations. So, I have interchanged the integration operation with the summation operation. Okay, so summation has come out now, integration has gone inside, and CR square being a constant has come out of the integration. And what is this one? GR square. So, it is a B square. So, G square has come. Okay. Now, what about this one? 2AB. What is A? A is nothing but f of t. It is here. Okay. Again here, summations. And these are interchanged. These are cross terms. You can say cross terms. And you have only one CR. Okay. Here 2AB. In B term only you have the CR. So, one CR here. So, 2A. And what is B here? 2A into B. Okay. CR, GRT. This is CR, GRT, second term. And F of T is the first term. So, 2AB. Okay. So, after interchanging this summation and integration, you have this term. Okay. So, now we have the equation 1. Go back to equation 1. So, what is this? This is what I want to take. This is nothing but Kj into Cj. Okay. Kj into Cj. See here, numerator of equation 1 equal to Cr. Go back here. Okay. So, this is here, Cj means jth term. You replace j with r. Then you will get Cr. Okay. Everywhere, wherever j is there, replace with Cr. Now, so this numerator is nothing but Cj multiplied by this denominator. Okay. Cj multiplied by denominator. So, that is what I have shown here. See, Cr multiplied by the denominator here. Okay. This is the numerator. This is numerator term. This is the denominator term coming to the other side of the equality sign. Now, this quantity is nothing but your Kr. Okay, because there it was Kj, here it is Kr, because it is R equal to J. It is only notation. Okay, and what is the range of R here? 1, 2, 3, etc., etc., n again. Okay, so this is what you have. Now, this, you call this as equation 2, and you call this as equation 3. Okay, so error is given by equation 2, and the condition, the equality condition which we used for the determining the coefficient is 3. Substituting equation 3 in 2. What is this? Is 3. You substitute this in this 2. Okay, where you have to substitute? See here. This is where you have to substitute here. And what about this? This you have to substitute, and this also you can substitute, because there is nothing but this. Okay. So, let us see here. So, this is there as usual. And what about this? What about this? This is nothing but, what about this? CR into this, correct? CR into this. So one CR will be here. One CR will be there. Second CR will is multiplied with this, and that is how you got this. Okay. So C squared term. See here in this case, this term CR square KR. Okay. You can just go through this because in the other side. So here in this place I will get the CRs, one CR and this one. Okay. One CR and this term put together is CR KR. Okay. Anyway, CR is here. So CR KR. And there is one more CR here. So CR square you will get. Okay. That's why CR square KR you will get. And similarly, in this case, what is there in this case? In this case, so direct substitution in this, and this is nothing but CR KR, again CR square minus 2R minus 2 CR square KR. Okay. So now this is from this you have to subtract this. Okay. So you will get minus. This is one term. A minus 2A. Okay. So I will get minus A here. And this is what finally I have. So what is this? This is nothing but this expanded version is this one. So basically, this is the given square of the given function. And this is sum of products of square of the quotient. Sum of product of square of the quotient. That is more important. And what is this KR? KR is the energy contained in the rth basis function. Rth basis function. Okay. GR. If I take GR square, if I take integrate, so whatever I get is nothing but this energy contained in the basis function. Okay. So that is what you have. And that substitution you have here. So this is what ultimately, I mean, based on this, we are going to solve some problems. And so at this point, I would like to introduce the complete set of orthogonal functions. What is complete set? That is more important. Okay. It is set of orthogonal functions are different and complete set of orthogonal functions are different. Okay. Complete set of orthogonal functions means consider G1, G2, GR mutually orthogonal as usual. They are called complete or closed set. These n functions, in this case R is given, and I can consider this YR, I can have the n also, G1, G2, Gn. They are said to be a complete set if there exists no function for which it is true that the inner product equal to 0. What it means is, if the inner product equal to 0, what is the meaning of that one? X of t and g of k both are orthogonal. What is g of k? G of k is one of the functions, k equal to 1 to 3, g1, g2, g3. So one of the functions in the given set of basis functions. Okay, now onwards I am calling this as basis functions. So I have taken n basis functions, one of the basis function, kth basis function I have taken. So I have taken x of t outside this set, something outside this set, some function x of t. I am finding the inner product of this one. Okay, and I find the inner product of this one. What is happening here? It should not be 0. That, I mean, in the sense, let us take one function x of t, find the inner product, check whether it is orthogonal or not. It should not be orthogonal. If it is orthogonal, for example, x of t, see what is the return? Read it. This is something kind of negative statement. If there exists no function of x of t for which it is true that it is orthogonal, that means there exists no orthogonal function outside this set. Okay, this orthogonal set, they are mutually orthogonal, a pairwise orthogonal within the set. But if you take any function outside this set, they are not orthogonal. Okay, if at all, any set, let us say x of t is somehow, let us say you have found something, by chance, some function is there x of t, which is not orthogonal, which is orthogonal to this. Okay, which is orthogonal to, let us say, G2. Let us say that some function we have taken, that function is orthogonal to G2, one of the sets. Then what you have to do? Our G's are not complete set. Okay, they are incomplete set. Now, what happens? This x of t will join. This x of t will join in that set. Okay, something which you found, something is orthogonal outside this set. Take it and put it there. Okay, then it also becomes the part of this set. Like that, you take all functions which are outside, verify. And if something you found orthogonal, don't keep it outside. Bring it, put it in the set. So then, like that if you do, finally you will get a complete set of orthogonal functions. So whatever set you have, it is a complete set. So naturally, finite number of orthogonal functions, mutual orthogonal functions cannot be complete set. Complete set always contains infinite functions because outside the set there are infinite functions. Okay. So, in general, when I say complete set of orthogonal functions means the number of functions are not finite. They must be infinite. Now, representation. Now, let us consider the representation of a function. Whatever we have done so far is the representation of a function by finite number of mutually orthogonal functions. Now, finite means n number of. Now, I am representing the function, trying to represent the function by a complete set of mutually orthogonal functions. Okay, now we know the definition. Complete set means nothing is outside which is orthogonal to this. Any function you take, it is not orthogonal to this. Okay, if it is orthogonal, then this is not complete set. Okay, that will join this to make it complete set. Okay, so that is what you have. So this is the error equation, and if we approximate by a large number of orthogonal functions, that means, because this is n, as n tends to infinite, n tends to infinite, what will happen? So this is infinite summation. Then these two, given function and these two terms, energy in the given function and energy by the approximated function, both are equal. Then your error becomes 0. So these two are equal, correct? So this and this are equal. That is what I have written here. These two are equal. Now the error vanishes. So when I represent by a complete set of mutual orthogonal functions, I can make the error 0. Okay. Error, I can make theoretically, I can make error 0. See here, C1, G1, C2, G2, etc., CR. It will go up to infinite number of functions. Then the series is set to converge in the mean. So it is the, statistical term again. And this is the mean. That means if I take the average function and if I find this, because these representations are, so different represent, because of course G1, G2, once G1, G2, G are fixed, C1, C2, C3, they are also fixed. Okay. Then when you take infinite number of things, we say that the representation is exact and the series is set to converge. That means it has converged to the actual function. Okay. The approximation has converged to the actual function. Okay. So now, this is what we have so far. Whatever we have studied, they are all real functions. It means the given function f of t is real function, and all the mutually orthogonal functions g1, g2, etc., gn or g infinite, these are all real functions. The basis functions are real functions. Given function is also real function. Okay, but in practical thing, all are real functions only. But for mathematical analysis purpose and for it is very useful, the complex domain representation also. So we have to study what happens to this representation if all functions are complex. That means the given function f of t is complex. It has a real term and imaginary term, and each and every basis function in the complete set of orthogonal functions, they are also complex. So you are representing a given complex function f of t in terms of complex basis functions by a complete set. Okay. So in that case, what happens? What is going to happen? We'll see. Okay. So this is, in this case, for explanation purpose, f1 is the given function F2 is the approximating function. F2 is the basis function. Okay, I am taking only one basis function. So this is the F2 is basis function, single basis function. F1 is the given function. So given function I am approximating with a single basis function. So single coefficient is there here. Okay, if it is, approximation is a very poor approximation, but for explanation purpose I have taken only the one function. Now, what is this optimum value? To minimize the mean square error. What is the optimum value? It comes like this. If you proceed, as in case of real functions and in case of vectors, we have proceeded. We have done some, proof kind of thing. So if you do in the same way, in the similar manner, you will get here dot product of the functions. Dot product of the vectors generally we will say. Here we call it inner product. Inner product of the two functions means F1 and F2. Both are complex. So one you keep as it is. Second we have to conjugate. Okay, this I have already explained long ago. So if one of the things, if both are imaginary after multiplication, and it will become imaginary. If I take one of the things as the conjugate, and in fact both are same functions, if I take conjugate, then what happens? So I have here a plus b, a plus jb, a minus jb. Okay. Now, when I multiply these two, what happens? A square plus b square I will get, which is a real quantity. I can interpret that real quantity as the energy of the, energy of that quantity. Okay. Energy of that, size of that quantity. Now, if I take a plus j into a plus j, a square minus b square plus 2jab, there is imaginary term. I cannot interpret, I have no interpretation for the imaginary cross term there. That's why I always, when I am multiplying two complex numbers, the product is expected to be a real quantity if it has to be properly utilized for our analysis purpose. We have to, our mathematical analysis should fall in line with the reality. That means real situation, energy and power of the signal. So it should be in commensuration with that. Otherwise, your mathematical analysis has no value. Okay. So that's why whenever we multiply two signals, two complex signals, one signal or function, we will conjugate it. Okay. So like that we have conjugated. Here same thing, F2 star. Here you will get the energy, real energy. So though the signal is complex, energy is going to be real. So this is the same numerator denominator, except for conjugation, everything is same. One coefficient C12. So C12, or actually this I can call it as C1. That's all. Why C12? Because first function, second function, 1, 2 as well. Otherwise it's equal to C1. So, what is this one? Two functions, two complex functions are orthogonal if their inner product. Inner product means F1 multiplied by conjugate of the other one. That is built into the definition. Inner product means multiplication of two complex numbers, again making one as the conjugate. Is built into that. If it is 0, if the inner product is 0, then you can say that these two complex functions, they are orthogonal to each other. Okay. So we have reached a certain stage. Now let us consider a set of complex functions GR, complete set R1 equal to R equal to 1, 2, 3, etc., infinite. So what I have taken, M is not equal to N. That means GM, GN star. This inner product is 0. That means the inner product is 0. So they are orthogonal basically. Then if M equal to 1, this is nothing but energy, Km. Energy in the mth basis function. Okay. So if this set is complete, any function can be represented in this manner. Same thing. Okay. Same equation, same thing. Only thing here for coefficient, to when you are finding the rth coefficient, any coefficient, you are taking the product, one of the things as the conjugate. So that is what, thank you. Thank you very much.
Like, share and subscribe. Hit the bell icon for more updates.